Good afternoon. Good afternoon to each of you. Good afternoon to each of you. I do hope that your day is going well. Today is Tuesday, April the 21st, and I am elated to be on with you to talk about the topic for this week. Now, if this is your first time tuning in, my name is Shanika Hallback. I am your accounting advisor. I help churches, small businesses, and individuals get financially organized. So if that's you, welcome to this call. I'm so glad to be on with you this week, trying to make sure that I can get in here and see any of your comments as we are on. All right, so this week we're going to be talking about the risk of not understanding your financial statements. And the goal for today is for me to make it easier and simpler for you, right? So the risk of not understanding your church's finances. Now, let me just start by saying this is one of the things that I see often where churches are really having a tough time just understanding the basics of your financial statements. And whenever you as a leader, you as a business, and or you as an individual, right, do not understand your financial statements, then I mean you can't understand the decisions that you need to make. It becomes risky, and it's not a small risk, it's a serious risk, right? So understanding and reviewing your financial statements helps you to ensure that you're not mismanaging your resources, um, and that you simply have some type of understanding. Even if you're not a numbers person and you're saying, I don't really like numbers like that, numbers is not what I do, you need to have some type of understanding so that you know what's happening and what's going on. You are not the person that has to put those numbers together or those packages or those charts or whatever the case may be, but you need to have some type of understanding of what financial statements are and what they tell you. So today I'm going to break that down in the simplest form for you so that you can understand. If you do not understand, that is the risky part about this, right? You're not able to make decisions. As I said, you really don't know where your money is coming or going. And when you are blind, the Bible says the blind can't, the blind leads the blind. We don't want the blind leading the blind. We want someone who understands the finances, at least what those financial statements are telling you, at least where your money is going, at least where your money is coming from. All right. So financial statements overall, when you think about financial statements, this is super important for those churches, especially if you have capital product programs. You have programs, community driven programs, especially if you're looking for a bank loan at some point, right? If you are building or you need a bank loan for some of your initiatives, the banks are going to ask you for your financial statements. They are going to ask you what is your income. They're going to ask you what are your expenses. And if you don't know that, and or you don't have someone on your team who can give that information readily available, then you are at risk. A lot of times, if you're not able to prove where your money is coming in and where your money is going, it does have an effect on how much loans you're able to get, how much funding you're able to get for some of your programs. And so I want to break down, and if you're writing this down, I'm going to break down three financial statements that every church must have. Three financial statements that every church must have. That is going to be one, your income statement. Number two, your balance sheet. And number three, statement of cash flows. All right. Those are the three statements that every church should have, every church leader, every business leader should understand. Again, even if you're not putting those statements together, when you see them, you should have some type of understanding. And I'm going to help you break that down because I know how it is. I'm an accountant, is what I do on a day to day basis, but helping leaders understand this concept is super important. Financial statements are a formal record that summarizes the company's financial performance, right? So that lets you know how you are doing. That's why we need financial statements. Every church needs it. Now, I understand some churches are doing things manually. You may have an Excel spreadsheet. You may not necessarily be using a system. I encourage every church to get on some type of electronic system. That's going to help you manage your finance as well. That's going to help you produce financial statements more quickly, and that's also going to bring clarity and help you see a little bit more quickly, right? So if you're one of those churches and you are doing things manually right now, it's okay to do things manually for a little while, but you need to start navigating and moving towards some type of electronic system, and I have a ton of those that I can recommend for you. And if that's something that you need assistance with, feel free to drop it in the chat. I'd love to answer those questions and kind of help you walk through that. But I'm going to go back in income statement, balance sheet, and statement of cash flows. Those are the three major financial statements that every church needs to make sure and every business needs to make sure that you understand and have. And the reason being is that is what banks are using when they're assessing your funding. That's what your donors, right? Every church should at least be meeting with your donors. Those are your members. Those are the people who give their tithes and offering, right? You need to be meeting with them at least annually, right? When you have clear financial statements, you can give clarity around where money is going. I always say how you treat your money is a direct reflection of your integrity and your heart motives, right? And so if you haven't gotten to that point as a church where you are transparent in your financials, you want to work into the point of transparency. And one of the ways that you are transparent is by having these three reports. Right. These three reports help you to assess your profitability, your liquidity, that means how much money you have readily available to you, and your overall financial health. Right. This shows your church giving versus your spending. I am helping so many individuals right now work through budgets. And what I'm realizing is that a lot of church don't have budgets, right? But when you look at these financial statements, it'll let you know, are you doing great or are you not? What giving do you have coming in? What spending do you have going out? It helps you to identify trends. Sometimes, depending upon the month that you're in, you could look at those reports and say, hey, in the month of June, we usually have double the expenses. Well, why do we have double the expenses? Maybe that's anniversary month, or, maybe that's the month that your company has the most sales, or whatever the case may be. So it helps you identify trends. Trends are super important because it also helps you to navigate and to see maybe what are some of the months that you do really, really well. Maybe you can hone in on those months and things that you're doing in those months to continue to bring in more funding. I know that funding is a challenge for a lot of churches as well. And so when you look at those trends, it can also help you assess what you need to do in terms of funding, in terms of spending, and those type of things. You also want to ensure having these financial statements also ensures accountability and transparency. That's what I said, right? If you feel like you have to hide anything, we may need to go back, right? So, income statement, balance sheet, and statement of cash flow. So, let's jump right into the income statement. The income statement really shows you how much money you're bringing in terms of revenue and how much money you're spending out. So you may hear it say statement of activity, right? So it shows the income, your tithes, your offering, your sales, and then it is the expenses, right? So let me see if I can't give you a quick picture of what that looks like. All right. So the income statement shows you what is coming in versus what is going out. Income being your giving, expenses being your ministry plus your operations, right? That is the key goal of that particular income statement. It tells you, are we financially healthy or not, right? So whenever you're looking at this income statement, and I'll give you an example of what that looks like here shortly, you want to know, are we spending more than we're bringing in, or are we bringing in more than we're spending? Right? You always want to bring in more in income than you are spending, but you won't know that if you're not looking at your income statement. So that is super important for you to look at. An income statement may look something like this. You'll have tithes and offerings, say it's $120,000, other income, right? And then you have your expenses, which is maybe your ministry programs, your administrative costs. And it'll let you know, are you making money? Are you spending more? Are you bringing in more than you're spending, or are you spending more than you're bringing in? Right now, you have a net surplus. Just an example of $50,000. So, what does this tell you? It tells you exactly what we've been talking about. Do you have money to spend? Do you not have money to spend? Income statement is super important for understanding the overall health. And again, it tells you what the income as well as the expenses. All right. This is a quick example of what an income statement will look like. This is just an example of what one may look like if you ever see one, right? You may have tithes, you may have income from other areas, and then you have your total. And then, of course, it just breaks down your expenses and it tells you whether you have a loss or if you have a surplus. What you're looking for is a surplus. You want to make sure that you have more than what it takes. If you're not looking at your income statements, you're not going to be able to officially assess that. You're not going to be able to know, and that is risky as an organization. It is super risky as an organization if that's something that you do not know and or something that you cannot answer. And so if you find yourself in that place, you want to ask yourself, what do we need to do as an organization? What do we need to do as a church to make sure that we are thriving in the ways that we should be thriving in this season? Okay. Next is going to be your balance sheet. Your balance sheet tells you overall what your financial position is. And what that means is, are you healthy? Are you healthy as a church? Right? Are you healthy as a church? What does health mean? How do you get healthy? That's going to show you your assets. That's going to show you how much money you have in the bank at any given time. It also shows you what you have versus what you owe, right? So if you have bank loans, right, you want to understand what you owe. Do you have a loan that you owe at the bank? Did you take out something on credit at a music store and you have a balance, right? So if you don't know, like, if you have vehicles that you purchase because you are driving individuals back and forth to your programs or your churches or your organizations or your businesses or whatever that case may be, you need to know, do you have any loans? You need to know how much money that you have in the bank, right? So it's what you have versus what you owe, right? If you sell it, if you have inventory in your business, right, that's considered an asset. So usually those are assets, liabilities, and equity. And in order to answer the question of what do you have and what do you owe, you need to be able to have a balance sheet, right? It tells if your church is financially stable, and that is super important. Assets are what you have, liabilities are what you owe, and equity is what your net assets are. So that means your assets minus your equity, right? It tells you what pretty much is left over after your assets and your liabilities. All right. It is your church's financial snapshot. And I know I'm talking a lot of accounting type knowledge, but it is your church's financial snapshot. Again, it tells you what you have in assets versus what you owe, especially equipment, right? And if you don't know these things, we need to have a talk. We need to have a conversation. When you purchase equipment, when you purchase that organ, when you purchase those chairs, when you purchase those lights, when you purchase, those TVs, right? Are you accounting for those correctly? Do you know what you have, right? It's not always just about the physical money or cash in the bank. It's about the equipment that you're purchasing. That equipment, it is worth something to your church. And if you're not tracking it properly, right, then you have a gap there in your finances. If you have loans and you don't know what the balance of those loans are, excuse me, at any given time, if you're not tracking it properly, then you're most likely not looking at your balance sheet. All right, let's keep going. The last one, the third one, is your statement of cash flows, right? Your statement of cash flows shows you exactly what is in your bank account at any given point. It is risky to not know how much is in your bank account at any given point. If you don't know how much cash you have and you're just writing checks or swiping your card or whatever at the store, whatever the case may be, or paying your bills, and you're not even sure if you have enough money in your account. The statement of cash flows tells you how much money you have in the bank at any given time, right? That is super important. It answers the question of, can you actually afford what you are looking to purchase at the time. A lot of you are, again, I talk to churches all the time. You're in the processes of building and this or that. How much cash do you have on hand? Do you have an emergency fund? We call them building funds as well. Do you have the cash to do what it is that you want to do? How quickly can you go to the bank to write a check and the money is there? That is what the statement of cash flow tells you. Is money going in versus out, what you owe, but what's actually available at that particular time. All right. So let me break this down for you. What does this all mean? Your income statement, your balance sheet, and your statement of cash flows. Let's do a quick review. Your income statement is going to tell you what you have coming in versus what you have going out. Your balance sheet is going to tell you what you have in assets versus what you owe. And your statement of cash flows is going to tell you, shows you exactly what you have in your bank, the cash that you can touch, that you can go withdraw out of the bank today, right? So when you do not understand these concepts, you start making decisions that are not good. You start mismanaging your funds, especially if you do not have a budget. You're not able to budget the funds for the programs that you need. We talked about budgets, the B word, last week. And so if you missed that one, go back and look at it, right? You need to understand these things, because if you don't, it will literally it can literally crush your operations. I cannot tell you the amount of churches that I talk to that are overspending. They have no idea, and they're just praying for funding. They're praying, but if you manage your funds well, if you know, if you look at those income statements, if you look at those balance sheets, if you look at that statement of cash flow on a monthly, at least a monthly basis, it will help you plan. If you don't understand these things, you are guessing, right? You are guessing. If you don't have an understanding of it, or you don't have a team that helps you to understand it, you are guessing, and guessing is risky. Oh my goodness, do not guess. The real risk is that you are making decisions without full visibility. You are approving invoices, but you don't fully know if you have enough money to cover it. You are planning for programs, but you don't even know if you're able to sustain them, right? When you don't understand your financial statements, you are leading in the dark. You are leading in the dark. You cannot steward what you have without a clear understanding. You cannot build trust without having clarity, and you cannot make good decisions without having clear information. And when you do have all of these things in place, actually, this will help protect your church from financial stress and crisis. So, I want to make sure that you understand that it is difficult to lead if you cannot see clearly. Some of the things that help you see clearly is knowing what your financial statements look like, what's on your income statement, what's on your balance sheet, what's on your statement of cash flows. Understanding those numbers will help you unlock greater impact, period. I have seen it. When you understand the numbers, and it's okay if you don't necessarily have the skill set, that's why I'm here. I can help you. I can help you understand what your numbers are, what your numbers mean, so that you can have more clarity in order to make impact, so that you can get out of the risky red zone of not knowing what's happening within your churches, within your business. Risk is not only in the numbers, it's not understanding them, as we said. When you understand, you lead differently, you make better decisions, and you create more impact. All right. So hopefully something that I said, this is really, really, really quick. I think I'm going to do a webinar at some point that just really walks churches through these statements, and also how to create a budget, right? If that's something that you would like, let me know. But if you're a pastor, if you're a church leader, if you're a business, and anything that I said today, if you're like, oh my goodness, that just made my head hurt, you need to book a call with me. You need to book a call with me. I'll drop my link in the chat. I would love to help. I would love to kind of come in and see where you are, and really bring some understanding and some clarity to your financial statements, and how important it is for you to make sure that you're stewarding your finances well. A part of stewarding what God is giving us, it also allows God to give us more, right? When we steward the little that we have well, right? And that comes through knowledge, because the Bible says what? We perish for lack of knowledge a lot of times. And so sometimes sometimes you just need clarity, you just need understanding, and you just need knowledge. And if that is you, I would love to help. Use the link and you can book a free 30-minute call with me. We'll walk through your financial health assessment to get you financially organized and financially prepared. So if you're listening to this and you have any questions and or you know that your church needs to understand finances, then this is your answer today. Make sure that you hop on a call with me so we can talk more and or put your questions in the chat. I would love to talk with you. Next week, we'll be back on at 12 p.m. and I'll let you know, check your emails. I'll let you know what we'll be talking about. But if you missed any of the lives, I think we talked about budgets last week, the week before that. I can't remember exactly what. Oh, we talked about contractor versus employees. These are things that we see every day. And my goal is to help you make sure that you are ready, that you are financially organized. When you go to those banks and you ask for those loans, you have all the information that you need. And look, we believe that we are lenders and not borrowers. So some of us don't even need loans. But if we do, that you are financially ready and prepared, and that you are stewarding what is in your hands well. That is the most important thing. When we steward things well, God will always give the seed to the sower. All right. Blessings. Have an amazing rest of your day, and we'll see you here next week.